been looking at the rankings here as I've been preparing for this video for Jai Opetaia, the IBF and Ring magazine cruiserweight champion of the world. He, for those who don't know, especially here in the United States, he's going to be fighting. What's that? The 8th, right, Big J?
Yep.
Yeah, that's this weekend on the 8th against, let's see, number 14 ranked Claudio Sequoia. I forgot how they pronounced it yesterday on the when they were building it up. I mean, the day before on the zone. So, if you look at the cruiserweight division, as you can see, ain't nothing there. You got 40-year-old Mike Perez, 40-plus-year-old Jean Pascal, Ursuline Goulamarian. You know, he's got some controversy for how long he stayed out of the ring or stayed inactive. And he had that dreadful fight against Gilberto Ramirez. You got Ryan Rozecki. He is the mandatory for Badou Jack, who beat Noel McCallion on the undercard of Canelo versus William Skoll, that dreadful card. And you got Chris Billum Smith, who is now number 1 ranked by the WBO again for the mandatory to be to possibly fight the mandatory Gilberto Ramirez, who has the WBO and the WBA. But listen to this. Gilberto Ramirez is fighting his WBA mandatory Junior Doricos. That's going to be on June the 28th, 28 days from now. It is June the 1st right now in 2025. But there's ever growing, and listen to this bullshit, there's ever growing rumors and chatter that Gilberto Ramirez and Jake Paul are in talks.
Oh, fuck not.
And if Jake Paul goes on to beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., now pay attention to this. Watch the rankings by either the WBA, the WBO may not do it. The WBO has some integrity, but the WBA, look for their next rankings update sometime, because it's the beginning of the month, sometime in the next couple of weeks. I used to remember when they would come out. I believe it's mid-month, like 11th or 12th or something like that. But I'm going to be paying attention. If Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. pops up in the top 15 of the WBA rankings, and for those who don't know, when you're ranked top 15, you're eligible for a title shot. After Dorticos, if Ramirez wins, he will not have a mandatory, and he'll be able to have a voluntary. And if Jake Paul on June the 28th, the main event of that card, by the way, beats Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Gilberto Ramirez and Jake Paul are likely going to be fighting for a title. And some other bullshit news regarding the bullshit with boxing, before we move on, Jake Paul was also in talks to fight Tank Davis. He was actually at Davis versus Lamont Roach in Tank Davis's locker room. Just the madness, you know, mind you, I've met Tank Davis, and you don't even have to meet him. Look at him. The guy is 5'4". He's listed at 5'5", but he's a tiny dude. Jake Paul is 6'1", about 6 foot, 6'1". Like just shenanigans. But first, Big J, what do you think about that Opetaia news? Before we talk about Sequoia and how the fight may go, I gotta be honest, I'm not interested in the fight. But you know, because it doesn't mean anything. You know, so but what are your thoughts?
Well,
I mean the rankings, first of all, like how the rankings play out.
Well, the rankings, the IBF has been rather weird over the last, say, two and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the IBF has really dicked Jai around because they stripped him for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
And then the next fight, they put him up in a title shot against Brutus again. I mean, like, what was the fucking point of stripping him?
Brutus was bitching and complaining, but still, at the end of the day, IBF they had the last word.
Yeah, but I mean, this is just another showcase fight for Jai to build his reputation, to build his numbers. I mean, this is, he's fighting the lowest level competition he can lay his hands on to keep the belt, which, yeah, fine, I don't really have a problem with that. But the problem is, as we've said many times before, this cruiserweight division is such a shit division.
It is.
Is that you have to do what you have to do to, keep busy and keep active. So, Zurdo Ramirez should take care of this WBA challenger without too many dramas. And then, of course, that leaves it open for the Jai Unification. But if Jake Paul, who will most likely smack Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. or whatever he's bloody.
I hope Chavez Jr. can be the hero we need, but he's always been a fuck up. Man, breaks my heart all the time.
Yeah, Chavez Jr. Jake Paul will smack the shit out of him and become a legit challenger for bloody Ramirez. I mean, how much money would Ramirez make fighting Jake Paul?
Exactly, and that's why he won't turn it down.
$10 million?
Yeah, he won't.
I hope the fight happens so Ramirez will smack the absolute shit out of Jake Paul.
Yeah, I would like that too, but I don't want him to get there. I'm sorry, and he hasn't done anything to get there. Remember, Chavez Jr. lost to Anderson Silva. And Jake Paul goes on the beat like it's shenanigans. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, Badou, the only fights that Badou Jack can take is either Ramirez or Opetaia, or he has to fight Ryan Rozecki. And Ryan Rozecki, let me tell you, he's all right, but put it this way, I think I would pick him to beat Badou Jack. But as far as Opetaia is concerned, I don't want to say like he's becoming kind of a boogeyman, but it's a weak division, and none of these guys really want to fight him. And as I'm looking at the rankings of the IBF top 15, it's horrendous. Michael Cieslak, number 3. By the way, it looks like Opetaia's already got a mandatory. Did you see that? Number 1 ranked guy by the IBF, and the IBF is one of the only organizations, if not they're the only organization that if you're ranked number 1, that usually means you're the mandatory. So his mandatory is a guy by the name of Hussein Sinkara from Germany, 40-year-old guy whose last fight was a first round knockout of an 8 round. Oh my gosh, his next mandatory is shit, man.
Sinkara was the first guy he was supposed to fight in bloody January.
That is, but either ill, so that makes it even worse.
Sinkara was the guy that he was supposed to fight 6 months ago, but then he got hurt, and David Nika jumped in, remember?
Yeah, so now he has to either fight him or get a unit. So he has the possibility of having 2 straight shit fights. Because if he don't get a unification, he's got to fight the Sinkara guy, lose his belt.
Well, I hope Badou Jack has unification before, Jai should fight, Jai will fight old mate next week. And then he should fight Badou Jack while the opportunity's there, because he's not going to get Ramirez. Ramirez is too busy going to be mucking around with Jake Paul.
Yeah.
So get the WBC belt off Badou Jack. Let Ramirez kick the living piss out of Jake Paul, and then go for undisputed. Simple.
Yeah, that's the only way to go. But the idea, but now it's up to Badou Jack. Have you heard anything that they possibly talking anything? I know they've circled each other in Saudi Arabia, but you would think it would be in Badou Jack's best interest as well, because it's like, who would he make more money fighting? Ryan Rozecki? I don't think so. So you might as well go for Jai Opetaia.
Exactly. Now this is Jai's what? How many fights is that in Australia? At least 3, because Breedis number 1, and David Nika, this is number 3. So, if Jai's starting to build a fan base here in Australia, so it's easy to have it in Australia, and have it in front of 15,000, 20,000.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Do you think a unification between him and Badou Jack could possibly do some numbers over there?
Fuck yeah, because it's the novelty of the thing, because Australia, we haven't had a big fight for a few years.
Yeah.
So, we had obviously we had not bloody Lomachenko George last year in Perth, which had 14,000 people at it.
In the first Haney fight, with Cambosos.
Yeah, the first Haney fight. So if we were to have another big fight like that, you could get at least 10,000 to 15,000 people rock up to that sort of fight. Easy. Hopefully even more. I mean, Jai won't fight again until September, October. By then the footy season will be over, because there's no way in hell the Titans, which is the Gold Coast NRL team, they ain't going to make the fucking finals.
Yeah,
Or
but
even so, have it after the grand final and get 20,000 people at the footy stadium.
yeah, but
That holds
it's also
27,000.
it's also the fact that boxing politics. We've talked about, and you obviously you being over there, this would be an Eddie Hearn promoted event, so God knows how it would go. Eddie Hearn being a British man and all, no real footprint in Australian boxing. Then there's the possibility of the Saudis saying, you know what, no, we want this fight in Saudi Arabia. And then another unfortunate possibility is that, well, Badou Jack makes it hard and say, no, I'm not going to your home turf. I'm 41 years old. Like, we got to find neutral ground. So, the possibility of this fight being in Australia, I'm not too confident.
No, neither am I.
Not too, especially with the Saudi factor. But, I guess we're going to find out in the next, because the IBF, they have us in car rank number 1. And we know how they get, especially with the reputation they have with Jai. After this fight, of course, I'm expecting him to beat Sequoia and knock him out, possibly knock him out. But the IBF is going to go ahead and order that fight. So, and I'm guessing that's probably going to be more so to get the talks going for, a unification somewhere, because, the IBF know they'll get a bigger piece of the sanctioning fee for the bigger fight as well.
Exactly. So, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they're all going to chase the bigger. They're all going to chase the bigger pie.
Yeah.
So,
how long do you think Jai got, in the cruiserweight division? Because as I'm looking, there's nothing there unless Badou Jack, or who would be 40 plus, also year-old, injury prone, Beterbiev moving up. But besides that, and I don't think he's ready for heavyweight yet.
No. People keep saying, John needs to move up.
It's not the time yet. Yeah, it's not time.
Why? I mean,
and he's only 29, and in this day and age, he can try to ride out at the cruiserweight for another 3 years if he want to, and move up to heavyweight. Because at the end of the day, our heavyweights are kind of older in this generation.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
he would be, so 33 years old would be a prime time. I'm not saying it should be 32, 33, but I'm saying he's got some time there. But when it comes to significant fights, when you look, it's such a big jump between, let's say, for example, a lot of middleweights, move up to 168, 168 move up to 175. But really, those 175 guys, that's a difficult jump to make. And if it's not a guy, like I'm looking at the 175-pound division right now. You got possibly, maybe David Benavidez. All right, cool, big dude, And I'm talking about potential fights. If Jai says, you know what, I'm going to become undisputed and I'm going to stay here, and he wants to stay here to see how the heavyweight division plays out as the older guard is coming out. And the next fight we're going to talk about next, how guys like Fabio Wardley and Justice Huni are in that new class. So you got Dimitri Bivol, he would be on the smaller end of a cruiserweight, but I think he can compete at cruiserweight. Beterbiev, he can compete at cruiserweight. He's got the power at least to go up there. Callum Smith is a big dude. He's 6'3". He can go up to cruiserweight. Anthony Yard, but here's the thing. A lot of those guys, they're at the end of their careers as well. So they may not even say, what's the point of going up 25 pounds? So I don't know. The future seems pretty bleak, man, unless he's able to, go undisputed. And, he's got to start, they got to start doing better jobs matching him. Because these last several opponents is just, it's not doing nothing. It's not moving no numbers.
And it's padding his record, because just because he's beaten these guys easily, that doesn't mean... Because the competition is so low, you can't stay an A-grade fighter if your competition's constantly C and D-grade fighters.
Yeah.
You actually drop down a couple of pegs yourself, because you're beating these guys easy, but these guys are easy beats.
Yeah, remember he was worldwide trending after the first Breeders fight, and we was talking about how unfortunate it was that he got his jaw broken in both places. He couldn't really ride the wave.
Yeah, exactly. So his jets were cooled before he even. The fire was put out before it even got started.
Yeah.
So,
well, closing thoughts?
I'm interested to see. I think Josh should stay at cruiserweight, because I think the move to heavyweight, the heavyweight division is far too stacked. There's too many guys. there's too many. There's too many factors and there's too many things going on. So,
Yeah.
I mean, unless he gets a shot at Usyk, right, what would be the point of moving up? I mean, the only point would be from moving up would be to go straight into a title shot.
Yeah, you're right. I think he should let it thin out a little bit over the next few years to see how things play out, because a lot of these guys are not going to be around, and also the Saudis own the heavyweight division, and they're making all those guys fight each other. So at least we got that going on. So they're pretty much eliminating each other.